Alrighty, guys. Fellow employees at the office leaving. We were waving goodbye, Mr. Golden Boy and Trevor, also known as Torch. Alright, into the game, guys. Very far. Top left corner, it's going to be your red Zerg player, Lacira. And why does he have to be red? Because Stefano is pink. It's going to be hard to see here. In the bottom right corner, it's going to be EG's very own Stefano. Series is tied 3-3. Winner of the whole entire series will, of course, make it to the finals of the IPTL.
That's right. Quite a bit of money on the line as well, and we'll see what's going to pop out of both players here. As nothing too crazy or cheesy to start things off for either of these guys. Overlord's hitting it about the right times, but you're right. So we talked before that early aggression could throw Stefano off. Stefano, if he has his way, though, will play towards 3-base ZVZ style and play towards a little bit later game, which I think fits his needs a little bit better. Yeah,
I would like Stefano to pick up anti-roach timing. You were talking about Snoot a little bit earlier on. I think he'd be really good if you went for that type of situation where you just try and hit your opponent before upgrades finish up, or you just, at spur of the moment, you send 7 roaches across the middle of the field and try and get some damage done. It just seems like he tries to stay on top of the Ling Baneling older metagame and tries to just have better trades and falls up into regular standard play. I don't even think I ever see him go really into Muta ever. He's mostly staying on Infestors and ZVZ. So
yeah.
I wish he would be that kind of player to just kind of change up his play instead of trying to make the old mold fit. Because he's a player that when he gets in a situation where he likes to be in, he does so well. He flourishes. I don't know. That's just my analysis on that, man.
All right. Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, man. Like, totally.
Let's see here what Stefano ends up doing. Of course, Hatch going to follow up this initial pool. Lucira prioritizing gas quite early on compared to his opponent, coming up before his pool even hits. So he's going to have fastest possible Zergling speed. And we'll see what he does with it after that.
Yeah, man. He went 15 hatchery into gas, into pool. So a little bit of a greedier opening here for Lucira, but we'll get away with it as Stefano went for a 15 pool. So really can't put too much pressure on him.
All right, well, there's gas coming up for him. It is going to be considerably later than his opponents, though, because by the time this gas just finishes, we're going to have about 50 or 60 gas in the bank for Lucira, and he's going to have his Zergling speed about a full 30 or 40 seconds ahead of his opponent, maybe even a little bit faster. So Lucira does have the potential to put on that sort of pressure that you were talking about before. Even if it's not Banelings right now, he's going to have Zergling speed done way before his opponent and can sneak in there and figure things out.
Yeah, Stefano's build was just a safe build. Okay, what if my opponent were to 7 through 9 pull me in any way, shape, or form? Best way to defend it, I go for a 15 pull. For the most part, though, you don't really see much earlier than a 10 pull anymore, unless it's like Abyssal City or something.
Yeah.
Or not Abyssal City. Oh gosh, what's the other map that's not in my head right now? Atlantis Spaceship. That's one that's pretty good on there.
Yeah.
But again, Stefano just opened up really safe, and so Lucira overall will get the advantage. The only thing that Stefano has in his favor, if he'll have earlier lings than his opponent, but he didn't even grade any lings. He just went straight into drones. So it didn't really favor for him.
All right. Well, we'll see what he ends up going into here in just a second. Inject sitting for both players. Baneling Nest is on the way for Lucira, who has still a fair bit of gas built up. Didn't pull off of gas or anything like that as soon as he got that 100 for his Zergling speed. So he will be able to put on pressure here. Let's actually take a look at what the total difference is. Looks like it was 45 seconds difference between Zergling speed, and that is a considerable amount of time for Lucira to poke in and try and get some damage done, especially because Stefano's not showing us any willingness to go for a, oh, there we go, Spine Crawler. No, just a Baneling Nest.
All right, going to put it straight outside of the natural. More defensive here. You got the Baneling Nest, the Spine Crawler, and the Queen. Another good thing also with going for the earlier pull is he had his Queens out a little bit quicker than Lucira. Yeah. So we'll have an extra round of Larva Injects, which makes defenses a little bit easier, but still, again, pretty hard with one Baneling Nest already on the way, and or one Baneling and a couple of Lings on the way. But we'll get scouted here by Lucira as that Overlord was popping on over, so...
Yeah, with 3 Queens up and a Spine Crawler for Stefano, he shouldn't have a hard time holding off any sort of Baneling pressure, but that's annoying as Lucira gets in, picks off a drone, and we're talking about that earlier Zergling speed timing. This is exactly what he can do. So he's not going to make his way in, like we said before, with any sort of Zergling or Baneling pressure necessarily, but he's forced his opponent into producing a lot of Zerglings when he didn't necessarily want to, and those are just drones that haven't been made.
Yeah, pretty solid defense there from Stefano, but again, just a little bit too many lings. His speed does hit, though, so counterattack is now available. At the same time, though, 2 Banelings have been popped up for Lucira, and that's essentially basically a wall-off. If you have 2 Banelings sitting outside your natural, it's really hard for lings to dart on in without really intense micro. So Stefano running straight into the natural here, 1 Ling going forward, 1 Baneling is here with the Queen.
Yeah, really good control there from Lucira. You see it started automatically moving towards a Zergling, and at the last possible instant, Lucira pulled away so the Baneling didn't explode on just one Zergling. So cool stuff there. Layer tech is now well underway for both players. I actually think it hit at exactly the same time. Looks like it's 2 seconds ahead for Stefano, but that's not going to make too much of a difference.
Well, he is moving into roaches at the moment, and the +1 range attack for both players at the same time. So now we're going to get into normal ZVZ, if you will, more roach-based. And we head into the mid-game, and it comes all down to trades and positioning as we wait for each player to go in the late game. But as of late, we've been having a lot of quicker thirds and staying on layer tech for a while and just trying to keep up with the upgrades.
All right, well, we'll see what pops up here as I think upgrades are very undervalued by some Zerg players. I realize that there are very specific timings that certain players are going to hit. Nice trade there for Lucira. Ducks in with 1 Zergling, gets a Baneling because Stefano was worried about this chasing this Overlord down, which he's actually not going to get. But some players obviously are going for very specific timings. That's like, you know, +2 attack, and I lined it up here, and because I didn't spend on any Carapace or this extra Evolution Chamber, I have exactly 5 more Roaches or something like that. I get it. But I think as games have started to stabilize and go a little bit later in ZVZ, people are just under-prioritizing the amount of impact that having those extra Carapace upgrades above your opponent can actually have.
Yeah, I mean, it's the difference between a couple of Roaches and a massive amount of Roaches killing you off. It's pretty strong overall. I always try to go for Devil Evolution Chamber in all my matchups. Yeah. I just love having the upgrades. I don't know, I feel like I can just trade more efficiently. But again, there comes to the point of high ground advantage, getting free shots off on your opponent. Of course, Fungals landing the nice landing from the Infestors can always make trades worth it. But I agree. I want to see more play with Double Evolution Chamber, or at least falling up into Carapace. Because again, also with the Carapace upgrade, he can fall up into Lings as well, and then get great surrounds. Nice job there, canceling out that hatchery as Stefano will be retreating as he got his own third already started up. Very
impressive. He actually exploded his Baneling into it as well to try and get that moment of impact and instant death on it to get the full 300 resources lost. Unfortunately, couldn't land it. Great reaction time from Lucira to be able to cancel that. But now both players sitting on about equitable positions. Really, it's going to be on one of these guys to try and make something happen. Looks like Lucira may have been the first to lose a queen, but this has been... There's been a little bit of damage passed back and forth, but it's been fairly passive up until this point when Stefano's actually going to go for a little bit of an engage here, and I think he's walking into a little bit better position over Lucira. Lucira has the better reinforcement distance. He did just lose a queen there, but now he can start to target down these units one by one. Lucira's handling this engagement exceptionally well. Yeah, staying on top of those roaches as well, getting a couple killed off, and notice he got Burrow, and Stefano did not, which is another thing that a lot of Zerg players are kind of missing out on, and someone's starting to pick up. You grab Burrow, you do an exchange and damage, and then you burrow and get your health back. And then suddenly you have what, 10 more roaches than your opponent, and that number will keep compounding as well as you keep burrowing after engagements. It's that fun part of roaches that not many people remember to talk about. Yeah. They regenerate health extremely quickly while burrowed. Okay, good time for Infestors to pop out, though, from Stefano as he does considerable amount of damage to this first attack here around the top and is able to actually utilize the rest of his units very effectively to push out what Lucira has here brought to the front. So a very good engagement for Stefano, turning around kind of the loss he had suffered at the last one and is able to push back Lucira. Yeah, Fungal really helping out there, very, very much there for Stefano. And behind us we have Lucira moving into his own Infestors, getting a few more roaches out, did finish up his third, and Stefano behind us is going to drone up while feinting a little bit of pressure. Now we'll start to pull back and make sure he has this middle of area nice and cleaned out, but really well done there from Stefano. And now we're going to go into a bit of a standoff, if you will, as both players will sit down for a little bit and wait for their +2 to finish up before getting aggressive again. All right, let's take a look at things now as we do have a macro hatch coming down for Stefano. It's 21 roaches to 21, or it was at the moment, 2 Infestors to 2. Upgrades are almost exactly the same. Queen numbers are exactly the same, 55 to 53 workers, but there's a few more finishing up on both sides. Things are looking about as consistent as they could between our two players. Yeah, very even game so far, to be completely honest with you. Really, there's not that much difference. It's a couple drones here and there and a couple of roaches here and there, just small trade-offs, which is great. That means players with the better positioning will get the better engagements, and thus will be in a better position to win the game. The only thing that's different here is that Lucira still has that burrow available to him, so got to keep an eye on that, guys, when it comes to engagements and how well he uses that. Lucira is one of those players, Lennox done a couple times, where in engagements, if they get a low roach, they'll burrow it, and then they'll put it back up and use that micro in the fight, which is really cool to see. And no Hydras being produced for either player yet, but we do have that burrow now finally on the way for Stefano. Of course, it's going to be another 85 seconds before it does finish up, and he is actually pretty far behind on his Carapace research time, about 45 seconds worth. Again, another good window that Lucira could use to his advantage in order to attack. I like the risk that Stefano's taking, though, trying to sneak a fourth here at the 12 o'clock position. If he holds that for any length of time, his production is going to be pretty superior to that of his opponents.
Yeah, with that, I'd like him to get a changeling down the bottom left corner and just make sure to get an idea of when his opponent tries to grab that fourth, so he can take advantage of sneaking away that hatchery. He has no vision on it right now. So that would be quite helpful for him. But again, as you see, both players are staying on layer tech. That's why you're not able to move up into +3 attack and are staying on Carapace here. Just trying to use Larva to the best ability and just constantly produce roaches and try and just get better engagements. That's all really you're going to see in ZVZ for a while until that +2 Carapace finishes up, and then we'll see players move into Hive.
All right. Well, we'll see here now as Hive's certainly going to be delayed, as you mentioned before, but once again, these guys are very consistent. Another 10 roaches finishing up now for Lucira as he buffers the count that he has up at the front. Tunneling Claws being researched for Stefano, and I don't know if those have actually been researched by Lucira. We can go back and check the roach one here in just a second. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to have Tunneling Claws on your side. You can get 3 to 4 roaches and have them burrow across the middle of the map and hope that an Overseer doesn't see them and just get them into a main and start killing off drones. It's kind of a small gimmicky play, but one that works out very, very well if you can get it done. Yeah,
I mean, I think late game it's not gimmicky at all. It's a good little counter-attack option, you know. Obviously, if that's your entire game plan is to sneak something like that through, that could be an issue. But Lucira picks up on this fourth base, so he knows exactly what's going on, and he's actually having his own third under attack at the same time. This is a huge commitment for Stefano. He has got to get some big damage done because he is throwing away a lot of units to try and do this. At the same time, trying to attack through the front, but there's infestors there to basically infinitely lock down units sitting on top of this, on top of that ramp.
All right, we'll burrow those roaches right away. Overseer is on the way to help out with getting rid of that, but unfortunately at the same time, Lucira has to deal with this army in the middle of the map. He gets some huge fungals landing on top of his roaches, but is there enough roaches for Stefano to actually engage on this? Moving forward right away, tries to get a huge concave up. At the same time, he hasn't burrowed the roaches at the third, so he is doing damage, but it looks like Lucira is going to break all the roaches here in the middle of the map.
Yeah, he actually destroyed that engagement. That was really well played from him. He brought the exact amount of units. He had a great concave. He did take economic damage while this was happening. 17 workers lost there. He's on 52 to his opponent's 68, but he's actually got, once he recharges these units underground, a very nice counterattack available to him where he could put on some serious pressure. At the very least, I think he's going to kill this fourth, but I think he can make a serious attack on the third at the same time.
Yeah, certainly that fourth is going to help out Stefano with the larva, though. And he does have a huge economy. Look at this. He's floating around 1,600 minerals and 200 gas. We can get out a nice amount of roaches as well. So potentially that would be helpful for him. Checking into the main, though, it looks like some roaches are making their way on in. And Stefano thinks that he clears it up. He actually had those roaches in a hotkey, and so he hit one and right-click to come at the top left corner, and those two roaches do make it into the main. They're doing damage, and here comes an engagement once again. There are infestors left here from Lucira. He did a good job retaining them last time. No fungals quite yet, but he still has them just sharking around.
Yeah, I mean, Lucira managed that really well, too. Those roaches served as the perfect distraction, and you saw the concave he got on those forces. He completely surrounded them. They had maybe a very small percentage of an exit there from a complete circling of his units. So really incredible stuff by Lucira. Manages that engagement just perfectly. He's got to watch him, make sure he doesn't lose his infestors to just one roach. But even with the shorter reinforcement distance here, Lucira is showing why, you know, he's in complete control of this game.
All right, with some burrow micro as well, we'll be able to get those roaches nice and healthy. Stefano on the retreat here. There's just too much stuff for Lucira. Going to flank in from the top left at the same time, and Stefano trying his best to micro the engagement, but with the fungal, Lucira has got this army squashed beneath him. There's no way these roaches will be able to make their way on out. Burrowing some more as well to keep the roaches just healthy in numbers here. Stefano doing his best to defend and trying to get small fights on small fronts here, but Lucira's did a good job of bringing enough numbers to deal with them.
Yeah, and now it's a 35 supply disadvantage. And now finally the economic damage that was done before by Stefano is going to be equalized as these drones are just annihilated one by one on the way out. Lucira now with +2 Carapace on top of this, who actually has some better upgrades than Stefano at the moment, and he can just charge right on forward, and there's nothing that Stefano can do about it.
All right, Stefano getting very close to having the GG out here. Third base is resaturated for Lucira as well down the bottom left corner. He can just keep up with constant roach pressure, having the upgrade advantage, retaining his infestors. Yep, GG called by Stefano, and Lucira is going to take the game and bring the series to 4-3 in LGIM's favor.
That's right. They are only one game away from advancing into the finals here, and EG is down to their final player.
Who's it going to be? It's going to be Jaedong? Is it going to be Jaedong?
Yeah, it's going to be Jaedong. I'm sorry, I couldn't like hold that any longer, but yes,
yeah,
it is, of course, going to be Jaedong.
JVZ, man, he's super good in his ZBZs. The problem is the follow-up. If he does knock out Lucira, suddenly IM can bring out somebody potentially. I don't think Nessie probably be MVP because then it would be 4-4 then.
Yeah.
And that means it would have to be a win. And I would probably bring out MVP, but geez.
Well, historically in our IPTL, it's either been him or Seed that comes in at the end, or close to the end. So
I think Seed would be a better choice against Jaedong. But yeah, Jaedong has to win this game against Osira. His JVZ is pretty good, so I'm going to say maybe it happens. So suddenly we get into a Game 9. Let's see if it happened, guys. Let's run into a quick commercial. We'll have Jaedong versus Osira next.